I couldn't be more excited. My guest tonight on February 21st of 2023, the night of right before my PSVR2 is scheduled to arrival. What an exciting night. I have the incredible good fortune to be talking with Anthony Peckham. Tony, welcome to the program.
Oh, thank you, Rob. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
I'm honored to be in such esteemed company.
Well, I appreciate that. Esteemed audience is here every week, and they have the pleasure of hearing some of the world's best authors, and tonight will be no different. I couldn't be more in love with Children of the Black Glass. It's dark, it's grim, it's action-packed, and very exciting. But esteemed audience knows that I never torture my guests by making them sit through me summarizing either their book or their biography. Why would I do that when you're right here and could do a better job of it than me? So a good place to start is if you would give esteemed audience an overview of your background, and we'll go from there.
Well, my background is, there's lots of it because I'm old. I was born and grew up in South Africa during the apartheid years when there was no TV in our country. And movies came very infrequently and were a huge occasion. And so all we could do was read. And we read all the time. In addition, my dad was a great storyteller, and he used to come home after seeing Alfred Hitchcock movies or a movie called Wages of Fear, and then retell the whole story to all of us. Much to, it was work for him, it was pleasure for us, but I sort of learned to tell stories from him. And so I grew up always wanting to write. I always knew I wanted to be a writer. And then one day in high school, I found out that people wrote movies. Didn't know that. I thought movies just grew like mushrooms. And once I found out that people wrote movies, because I loved film, I just said, I want to do that. And I ended up at film school. I went to the University of Cape Town in South Africa and studied English and classical history, and worked with J.M. Coetzee, who's I think he's won the Nobel Prize for Literature. And he was my thesis advisor. So I was very lucky to come up against made my way to America, like many other people, and went to graduate school for film, learned how to write movies, learned how to watch movies, looked at films that I'd never been able to see before, which is one of the great pleasures of film school. And then sold a screenplay while I was still a student to one of my professors who wanted to start a movie company. And he liked what I was writing in his class. And I managed to get an agent out of that. And kind of that was the bottom rung of the bottom ladder of an industry that is full of ladders. And I started climbing the ladder. And I've been writing movies for a long time. I'm still doing it right now. And Children of the Black Glass is my first novel, which I thoroughly love writing. So that's the short answer. I have children, I surf, I grow things. I don't just sit in a chair all day. But that's me. Very happy and very, very lucky to be here.
Well, as somebody who wants to read more novels, as soon as we can get our hands on them, I want you to sit in the chair more.
I'm doing that right now, far too much. But I don't know about you, but I find that I have to exercise, but I have to move my body. Otherwise I can't sustain writing every day. I have to stay and get the blood out of my posterior, as they say, just to move it around. And a lot of the writers I know have to do that as well. So
when I was younger, I had the very foolish notion that my mind was what mattered. That's what created the stories. So I ignored my body much of the time and focused on the mind. And of course, once I started exercising regularly and got a routine, I'm like, oh, look how much clearer I think.
Yes,
Look how much easier the writing is now that I've taken care of the physical aspect of things.
exactly. And now they're discovering more and more that there's a direct connection between your big muscles and your brain. And so not using them, like you said, is actually doing your mental work a disservice. So anyway, that's my excuse for surfing anyway. That's
Well, I
good for
frequently find that while exercising, I'm listening to podcasts, which I assume is what people are doing as they exercise while they're listening to us.
yeah.
But I will find that after a good workout in the morning, I will have inspiration somewhere in the middle there. Something about moving around will jostle some ideas loose in my mind. Do you find that to be true?
Absolutely. And that's why I move around with at least a 3x5 card and a pencil, wherever I go. But usually it's a pad and a pen because, those sometimes whole sentences just pop into your head, and you think you'll remember them, but you don't. And then they drive you nuts for 6 months trying to remember them. So whenever I'm exercising, I also have writing tools.
What kind of tools do you have on you when you're surfing?
Now that I paid there, if you're not paying attention to the ocean, you get into trouble. So that's my respite. But driving to and from surfing, I have tools. Or once I'm on the beach, I have tools. I always have tools. Even if it's sending myself a text, I've just learned thinking you'll remember those things. If they're huge, big enough, maybe, but otherwise, no. I write them down because then more come. You're not blocking yourself by trying to remember something. It's down, you've got it, and then the flow continues. So I'm sure you're the same. I know almost everyone else is the same. People say, "When do you write?" And the answer is all the time. Doesn't matter where you are. It's 24/7. You write in your sleep. I dream, when I'm deep in something, I dream solutions or changes I want to make. So I have a red light, little flashlight next to my bed with a pad and a pen. Actually a pencil, because you can write upside down with a pencil. So you don't have to actually get up. You can just pull things and then write them down with the flashlight in your mouth. And the red light doesn't wake you up too much. So we write all the time. That's why we're heroic, I think. So yeah, that's the writer's life.